Okay, so today is Valentine's Day in 2023, and as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm not going to say anything Valentine's Day related. I'm going to talk about the fucking Super Bowl, because I love football. I'm wearing my Saints shirt. Didn't even plan to do that. It was just like, yeah, I'm going to wear this shirt today, and I had planned on doing the football video, so it just kind of worked out. But here we are. So, before I talk about the game itself, there's a few other things I need to talk about. I need to talk about like a quick review on the NFL honors, talk about the commercials, talk about the halftime show. Oh, wow. That was weird. Oh, hi, I'm in the middle of something. What's up?
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'll probably just keep it in the video. What's up, Jose?
Oh, nothing. I was just going to tell you I was heading, my break's over, so I'm heading out.
Alright, see you later, dude.
See ya.
Have a good one. Yeah, sorry, like, I turned my head to burp because I thought I had a burp coming and then it didn't happen, and then Jose made a cameo. I don't think he actually showed up on the camera, but that was Jose's voice at the very least. Anyways, so, starting with the NFL honors, I was completely wrong. I thought I kept hearing them say it was the, like, night before the Super Bowl or the Saturday before the Super Bowl, but I guess it said it was the Thursday before the Super Bowl. Excuse me, finally, there was the burp. I tried to get it out earlier, and it just did not happen. That felt so much better. Anyways, point. I was completely wrong about when the thing was actually going to happen, but when it comes to all of my picks, I got all but one of them right. The one I got completely wrong was Offensive Rookie of the Year. Oh, excuse me. I 100% thought they were just going to go with Purdy, with the whole Mr. Irrelevant comes at like the third string, Mr. Irrelevant comes in. I can't really say leads his team to the playoffs because of just how good the roster around him was. But I thought that story sounded too good to not give it to. But instead they went with Garrett Wilson, the receiver for the Jets, which by no means is an undeserved reward. The dude had over 1,000 yards receiving with that QB room. That is respect. That is a fantastic rookie season. All props to him. So, moving on to the commercials, they were fine. I just, the whole time was like, this is aggressively mid. Like, I kind of liked the Pepsi commercials with Steve Martin and, I almost said Zoolander, which, I mean, I guess Ben Stiller was Zoolander in the commercial for, like, a scene, but with Ben Stiller being like, oh yeah, you know, acting is this, acting is this. Oh, I really like this Pepsi. But am I acting? Try it for yourself. You're like, oh, that's kind of clever. I kind of enjoyed that. I know there was a Coca-Cola ad where they played All-Star, but it was like this instrumental, like kind of playing it on bottles. Like, I know there was one years ago that did it with Little Talks, which is a song I really, really like. So I liked that ad, and I was like, they're doing it with All-Star. I can't hate this. I really enjoyed, the Breaking Bad commercial. I really liked the T-Mobile commercial with John Travolta, and I don't know their names, but you know, the two guys from Scrubs, like, doing a parody of that Tell Me More song from Grease. I was like, this appeals to me on a personal level. Like, I haven't seen Scrubs, I've heard it's phenomenal, but I love Grease. So, I'm like, this one got me, but for the most part, I was like, these are okay. Like, a lot of the movie trailers were just really short and didn't really give me a whole lot to... I mean, it's like Guardians 3. I'm going to go watch it because I like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But I was like, alright, this trailer's fine. Fast 10, which... Yes, it's a stupid joke. It's a stupid meme. I don't care. It should have been fasten your seatbelts. Let's be real. And I have a couple friends who got really into the movies. I think it was before Hobbs and Shaw. They were like, we're going to just marathon all of the Fast movies so we get caught up. And they're like, yeah, the first few were okay, and then they just get batshit crazy. And when they get insane and embrace the insanity... Like, once they get insane and embrace the insanity, they become amazing. But the Japanese titles are all better, because apparently instead of being called Fast and Furious or the Fast and the Furious, they're called Wild Speed. You're like, okay, yeah, that sounds fantastic. And I think for this, instead of Fast X, it's called like Wild Speed Fire Boost. You're like, fuck, that sounds cool. I think Hobbs and Shaw is called Wild Speed Super Combo. Like, this is awesome. I don't remember what they're all called, but yeah, the Japanese titles absolutely slap. And the trailer looked fine, but I'm also not a Fast guy. Like, I watched 9, and it was the first one I'd seen since 2. Hey, it was fine. The commercials were fine, but there were some I really enjoyed. Not much else to say, so moving on to the halftime show with Rihanna. I'm not like a big Rihanna fan, but I don't dislike her. I guess a good way to say it is like this. For the most part, with a couple of exceptions, so we'll put a couple pins because I'll name the exceptions in a second. I don't really go out of my way to listen to Rihanna's music, but if it comes on the radio, I'm not like, oh no, I hate this. But I'm like, it's okay. It's fine. Like, I recognize that one with Eminem. I recognize that one with Kanye. I recognize some of these solo hits. They're fine, but I'm not a huge fan of her catalog. The set, I kept seeing memes after how it just looked like Battlefield from Super Smash Bros. With how the platforms were arranged. I'm like, okay, that's really funny. I liked that. The dancers, something about it gave me Squid Game vibes. And now that I think about it, the fact that they were all wearing white and she's revealing that she's pregnant, like, are they supposed to be sperm? Like, that, I don't know. I don't know if that's what they were going for, if they just had them wearing white because it looked nice. I don't know, but, like, I can't help but think that. There was definitely a lot of lip syncing going on, because there were points where she just wasn't singing and the music was still going. Like, I don't know how much of you singing is you actually singing, which is kind of taking me out of it, I'm not gonna lie. I thought the dancers were really cool. I thought they had a lot of energy. I thought Rihanna herself did not have a lot of energy. Like, every now and then she would kind of bust a move. I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool, but this is just not exciting to watch. I'm not huge on the music, and even when it is a song I know and recognize, I feel like it's over as quickly as it starts. This is okay. And then you had last year, which is probably the best halftime show I ever watched. I mean, I'll say it like this. I've seen the Prince show, but I don't think I actually saw it live. Like, I've seen it, I mean, granted, I've never seen any of them live. I've never actually been to a Super Bowl. But I don't think I watched it as the game was airing. I wasn't actively watching it. I've just seen it on YouTube. And it's a phenomenal show. Like, it is one of the best ones I've ever seen. Most people would say it's the best, and I'm not gonna argue that. It's phenomenal. Beyonce's was fantastic. It literally took all of, like, the electricity out of the building. And last year's, just with all of these hip-hop icons, a lot of people that I grew up listening to, like, maybe not, like, heavily listening to them specifically, but I'm like, yeah, I remembered this song, like, it played all the time when I was growing up. Oh yeah, I know this one, I know this one, I know this one. And some of them are songs that I didn't really care for growing up, but I still knew them, and now nowadays, I really like them. Like, that was probably my favorite halftime show, because it just appealed to me on such a personal level. This is fantastic. And then this one was okay. So I gotta take the pins out, because I said there are 2 Rihanna songs I do really like. One is Diamond. I actually don't know what it's called. It's like Diamond, Shine Bright Like a Diamond, but that one, which is what ended the show. And I like it. I thought it was sung well, or lip-synced well, I don't know, but even then it'd be lip-synced to her own performance, so you still get her vocals anyways, but it's kind of distracting, weird, but regardless, I thought that part was good. And then there's Umbrella, which is no question my favorite song by Rihanna, and genuinely one of my favorite songs of all time. I love this song. I have heard covers of it that I think are fantastic. I think the original is fantastic. It was the song I was most looking forward to, and I did get to hear it. I wish I could have heard more of it. I was hoping there'd be something like really cool, like the dancers would be, dancing with umbrellas. There'd be like some artificial water coming down or some shit. I was hoping like that Jay-Z would come out and like introduce the song. It was really weird that it was just Rihanna and no special guests, but I mean, she had a whole Squid Game worth of dancers and she's pregnant, so I guess that was the special surprise guest, which is kind of a clever idea. And, I wish her all the best with her baby and everything, but me personally, I thought the show ended on a high note because I liked those two songs quite a bit. But overall, I was like, it's about as good as the commercials, which I think have been fine, but kind of disappointing for me personally. So the commercials, I didn't think were very good. The halftime show, I thought was fine. But now I get to talk about the game. The game was fucking magnificent. I went into this game picking the Eagles. I thought the Eagles would win by 10. The exact scenario I imagined. Game is tied in the fourth quarter. Eagles drive, take a lead by a field goal. Chiefs get the ball back. Eagles defense forces a fumble, and either the defense scores, or the offense is able to score a touchdown really quickly. Chiefs are now down 10 with like 5-6 minutes left. They drive down the field, get a 1st and goal and like inside the 5, but go for like 4 and out, are unable to punch it in, and Eagles are able to run out the clock and win. That is like, in my head, that was the scenario. It is not what I was hoping for. I was rooting for Kansas City. I will be completely honest about that bias. My dad is a Chiefs fan, as I know I've said this quite a few times going like about the playoffs. My dad is a Chiefs fan, and my Saints are not in here, so I don't have anyone else like that I'm hard rooting for, so I'll root for Kansas City. My dad's birthday was the Super Bowl, so like I'm really, really hoping Kansas City wins this game. I can easily see it happening because both these teams are really good, but I still think the Eagles win. I think that defense, like that D-line is so good. I think they're going to be after Mahomes all day. I think he's going to take some big sacks. I think there's going to be a crucial fumble. This is what I see happening. I hope I'm wrong for my dad's sake. But genuinely, in my heart of hearts, I just want a good game. I want a close game where it genuinely feels like anybody can win. And if you saw the game, you would know my Eagles prediction was wrong. The Chiefs won, and it was an incredible game, a very close game. It was the largest lead of the day was 10 points at halftime. And then the first drive of the third quarter, the Chiefs score a touchdown. So at that point, it was a one-score game the rest of the way. I have a lot of notes just talking about a lot of shit in the game, like kind of the general flow of the game, to me what some of the big turning points were, and some of the interesting and controversial decision-making, officiating. One of the main things I have to say, like before we get into a lot of those specifics, what the fuck was up with the turf? I kept seeing people slipping all game. That shouldn't be happening in the Super Bowl. Like maybe once, just someone, like people slip, we're human, it happens, but it was consistent. So I don't know what the fuck was happening. Like that's pretty unacceptable. I mean, that's not the type of thing that makes me go, oh, well, the turf was terrible. We have to put an asterisk on the whole game. No, but also just what the fuck? It's just also a quick note is, what the fuck is up with Glendale having some of the best Super Bowls? There's the helmet catch where the Giants beat the undefeated Patriots. There's the Butler interception where, the Seahawks don't run the ball and the Patriots are able to squeak out like a last-second victory. And this game, to me, unlike those, does not have a signature play. I mean, I guess people are probably going to point to like that holding call at the end, but you would have maybe like the Devontae Smith catch, but it was or like the Goddard catch, or like both were really good catches, but they're also by like the losing team. And Like the Mahomes run for like 26 yards or so to set them up in field goal range. Like, that was a really good clutch play, but it wasn't anything that, like, to me, like, I don't think any of the plays in this game are going to be quite as iconic as those. Even looking at other recent Super Bowls, you had like the Manningham catch for 30 yards. You've got and I think a lot of them are because it was the winning team. The Philly special, that to me is one of the most iconic plays in any Super Bowl. Like, that was phenomenal to watch. Like the Chiefs and the 49ers, there was like that 30, like the 3rd and 13, 3rd and 15 bomb to Tyreek Hill. There was, what was last year's Super Bowl? Oh yeah, last year was the Bengals and the Rams. I mean, the iconic play I can remember is Jalen Ramsey getting burnt, but then you also see another angle. It's because he got ripped by his face mask onto the ground. I think Cooper Kupp had like a clutch run on 4th down, but anyway, sorry, I don't really want to talk about the other Super Bowls that much. I know it's me. I get very disorganized talking about shit, but so let's actually try to talk about the game itself. So talking about, I'm sorry, there heard someone. So talking about, I guess, just the first half. I'll start with Philly, then talk about Kansas City. The first half was all Philly, like 100%. I think they had the ball 5 times. No, it was 6 times. They scored 3 touchdowns, kicked a field goal, 1 punt, and a fumble. But their offense was clicking. Jalen Hurts was slinging it all over the field. He had a great ball to A.J. Brown. I don't remember if this was first half or second half. He also had a great ball to Quez Watkins that got dropped. But, like, it wasn't... I mean, it was also, like, good defense. It kind of, like, just hit him on the hands, but, like, that was a crazy throw. There was the Smith catch that got reversed, and that's one of those where I'm like, I don't know about that one. Like, that was really close to me. That looked like a completed catch. I never really saw an angle where I thought it was incomplete. And even the announcers are like, I guess they found an angle where it was incomplete because that looked fine to us. And I think it was also on because that was the field goal drive. There was the drive right before that where they scored a touchdown, where they went for it on 4th down. It was like a 4th and 5, 4th and 6 at midfield. They got it. They lined up to go for it again in the red zone, and they got it on a penalty. They got it on an offsides. Hurts had, there was the deep ball to Brown, a QB sneak on the first drive, and then another just like solid, I think it was on that drive with 4th down conversions. He had it was a short run, like 5-6 yards or so, but like just a solid run in. They were playing fantastic. And the defense, they were able to get like a couple 3 and outs. Like, they gave up a touchdown on the first possession, a missed field goal on the second, 3 and out, 3 and out. It felt like the Chiefs were barely on the field. The defense was able to do its job, and the offense was able to keep the Chiefs on the sidelines. Great shit by them. And then, yeah, like when you look at the Chiefs, first drive, touchdown. Easy money, we're cooking. Next drive, able to move the ball. Butker, he doesn't even just miss it, he doinks the field goal. So we even got a field goal doink in this game. This game was wonderful. Like, we got a doink, 3 and out, and then with about 2 minutes-ish left in the half, another doink. Or excuse me, not another doink, another 3 and out. Which, this is one you kind of got to put a pin in there, because it was on 3rd down, Juju got held. And you could see, like, in real time, like, I see him looking for the flag doesn't come, and he's, like, screaming, he's getting really mad. I'm like, dude, like, just, like, it's fine, it's whatever, like, don't freak out, don't make them call taunting or anything, just move on to the next play. And then I saw the replay, where I'm like, oh no, he was, like, clearly being interfered with, he was clearly being held. That really should have been a flag, and that would have given the Chiefs a first down. Maybe they make something happen here. They're already down 7. Oh man, like, this can be a really huge turning point. And then, yeah, like, Eagles are able to extend the lead. The really huge play, like, I guess positive, it's not even like it was a huge momentum swing, it was just a thing that kept them in the game was the fumble recovery. Hurts was running with the ball, he just dropped it. Like, I don't think anyone was, like, that close to him. No one knocked it out. He just dropped the ball, literally. And then Chiefs player, I believe it was Bolton, runs for it, ball bounces into his hands, he runs it in for a touchdown. Tie game at that point, as the Eagles were about to drive and like probably take the lead because they were at about midfield or so, and I think it was like a first down. If not, it was like second and mid, second and short. But that was something that it was like, all right, the Eagles are really about to take momentum and control of the game, and lucky bounce, goes the Chiefs' way, and they're able to stay in it. And that was the big feeling of the first half. Eagles are in control. Defense is able to, keep Mahomes and them out of the end zone. One drive. But for like the other 3-4 drives, able to keep them from really moving the ball. And the offense is not only able to score points, but is able to keep the Chiefs off the field. They are in control. But they're only up 10. Chiefs are going to start the ball in the second half, and they have the MVP of the league. Now, he just re-injured his ankle, so this is really bad. But they're not out of it yet. And as long as they can, get points on this first drive and keep the Eagles out of the end zone, we've got a game here. So then, what happens? Second half happens. In the second half, the Chiefs had 4 possessions. Touchdown, 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 game-winning field goal. The Eagles' defense that was keeping them off the field, that was keeping them from really getting a lot of momentum, basically just disappeared in the second half. And that's to me, that is the reason the Eagles lost. Yes, in a game where you lose by 3 and your QB fumbles the ball and it gets returned for a touchdown, that's the reason why you lost. The fact that you got flagged for holding at the end of the game and your offense didn't get a chance to really answer, the reason why you lost. Your defense got no turnovers, and your vaunted defensive line, with multiple guys who had 10 plus sacks throughout the year, you had this deep rotation, no sacks. You got to Mahomes a couple times. He was always able to either run and escape it or get the ball out. You did not force an interception. You did not force a fumble. That's it. Some of the other things, again, just kind of focusing on the Chiefs part of the second half. You had the Tony punt return almost like right after he scored a touchdown. Like he had a wide open touchdown. Eagles go 3 and out, punt the ball. It was like a 65-yard return, set the Chiefs up at inside the 10. 3 plays later, Mahomes has another wide open dude, Sky Moore, another touchdown. So the Tony touchdown, they went up by 1. The Moore touchdown, they went up by 8. It's like, man, this is still a 1-score game. Eagles still have a chance, but Chiefs are kind of starting to pull away. Which I guess is then the transition into the Eagles. They scored once in the third quarter, long drive, but they kicked the field goal. Where were they? Because I think they were within like the 30 or so, and I think it was like a 4th and 2, maybe a 4th and 3. They didn't go for this one, which is kind of interesting because, again, in the first half, they're like, all right, it's like a 4th down at midfield. Fuck it, we're going to go. A 4th down, like, again, inside the 10. We'll line up to go for it, and if the Chiefs didn't get called for offsides, I have no doubt that the Eagles were about to go for it legitimately. But at that point, they got conservative. And who knows what would have happened. Maybe they would have converted. Maybe they could have scored a touchdown there. Who knows? But that was a point where they kind of lost their identity. And then again, in the game where you lose by 3, and I mean, they still took the points, but like, who knows? Maybe if they had gone for and gotten that touchdown, it could have been something that helped them win the game. Excuse me. So I mentioned how in the first half, there was the Smith catch, which controversial play did not go the Eagles' way. There were 2 controversial catches that did go the Eagles' way in the second half. First was, I think it was Sanders. I know it was one of the running backs. The ball hits him right in the hands. It is clearly secured. It's not bobbled. It's not moving. Just boom, like kind of moves it, turns upfield. And as soon as he's turning with the ball secured, he gets hit. Ball gets knocked out. Bolton, again, gets the ball, runs it in for a touchdown. Now Chiefs get their first lead of the game. But it's ruled an incomplete pass. I get the idea, it's like, well, like it was so close, he didn't really have a chance to establish himself or establish possession. I'm like, but here's the thing though. Normally, when that happens, it's because the ball is moving or the ball is not quite secure yet. But in this play, it's like, no, hit him right in the hands, boom, catch. There is no movement. That is a clean ass catch. By letter of the law, I suppose that is an incompletion, but via the eye test, that's a fumble. That should have been 6 points for the Chiefs. But again, like I say, should have, not technically, but let's be real, it should have been. So I felt like the Eagles got a good break there. Then there was the Goddard catch. So catches the ball. It's a really great catch. Gets his feet in. It's not quite a helmet catch, but it kind of is. He's got like it right above his head. It bobbles a little bit, but it looks like he's still kind of in bounds, but it's ruled a completion. Eagles go, run a play, so it can't be challenged. But kind of like what happened with the Bengals game, the Chiefs got a lucky break because the refs were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They did stop the play, I think, before it got fully completed, and said, hold on a second. You guys had a substitution. You can't just rush at that point and not let the other team substitute as well, which is a rule. You do have to be able to, like, if you're doing offense subs, the defense has a chance to match it. So because of that, the play that was just run did not count. Like, the catch happened, and then the immediate play, like, essentially got canceled. It didn't happen, which gave the Chiefs a chance to challenge the catch. Very dicey situation. Like, it's, again, kind of like that thing where you see the official running onto the field in the Chiefs-Bengals game. You're like, that's... I know what you're going for, and I think it's legit, but it doesn't really pass the sniff test. And if people are already saying, man, this is probably rigged in favor of the Chiefs, then shit like this doesn't really help. But it was challenged, and the catch was upheld. And I'm really glad it was. Now, even looking at it, I was like, I think this is close, but I think it's a catch. I think his foot was just in bounds when he had possession, and I would hate to see the Eagles get screwed because of it being like that. Like, if the Chiefs were able to throw the challenge flag before the weird substitution thing happened, then overturn it and keep it. Doesn't really matter. Like, it matters, obviously. It was like a 3rd and 15. It's like, whatever you decide, I don't think is jank. But if that kind of shit happens and then it gets overturned, it starts to look really suspicious in the Chiefs' favor. So I'm glad it wasn't. So to me, like I said, there were 3 very controversial catches. The Smith catch, the Sanders fumble, and the Goddard catch. But 2 of those, not the first one, but these 2, went in the Eagles' favor. So when a lot of people now are starting to say that, man, this because of what happens at the end, like, this game was rigged, the Eagles got screwed. I'm like, well, not really. Because if you watch the game, they lucked out there. And then, like, on a 3rd down at the end of the first half, where there was, on replay, like, very clear holding in PI, it wasn't called. So, like, I don't think the Eagles got screwed at all in this game. Let's see. Anything else I wanted to specifically say? No, so now we get into the ending. It's a tie game, 35-35. Chiefs have the ball. They're doing their thing. Mahomes has like a 26, I think that was the number. Like this long run to set them up in field goal range, 2-minute warning. So they run a play. Eagles call a timeout. Actually, I think the Eagles had 2 timeouts. Or I don't remember exactly how it went, but it was like they have a 3rd down. If they get a 1st down, the game is over for all intents and purposes. They throw the ball. It's an incomplete pass. It's an uncatchable ball. But then there's a flag, and it's for holding. It's very important that this was not for pass interference. Because I've heard a lot of people say it's like, no, like the ball was so far ahead of Juju, that's an uncatchable ball. If the ball's uncatchable, you can't make that call. For pass interference, absolutely you are correct. But not for holding. Holding, it does not matter. You could be throwing the ball to this side of the field, but the holding happened over here. Doesn't matter. Still 5 yards and an automatic first down for the offense. And when you see the replay, like there is, I know, at least one specific angle, you can see a clear hold. Bradbury is clearly like tugging onto Juju's jersey as he's trying to make a break. It is a legitimate penalty. This is not a situation where a ref made a phantom call, and because of a phantom call, the Super Bowl was decided. This is not a situation like in 2018 with the Saints, where there is a very clear, egregious penalty made by the defense, where if it was called, you probably have a different outcome to the game. Because you call that PI, Saints are probably going to the Super Bowl, and who knows what would have happened. Maybe we would have went and gotten our asses beat by the Patriots. I don't know. I genuinely don't know what happened. Because that call wasn't made. And then they're like, well, you guys went into overtime, you threw an interception. Yeah, you know why? Because Drew Brees got fucking hit in the head by a dude. It wasn't Sue. I think it was Brockers that hit him in the head. I don't remember exactly who did it, but yeah, that was a clear penalty. You want to call that illegal hands to the face? You want to call that roughing the passer? Either way, that should have been a flag. Saints should have kept possession, automatic first down to get either a 5 or... Actually, how much is it hands to the face? I think that's 5 yards. So at least 5 yards, maybe even 15. Bullshit. I'm still mad about that. I will always be mad about that. So when I see, in a crucial part of the game, at the end of the game, the defender interferes with the receiver's ability to get the ball. Technically, it was a hold, not pass interference, but regardless, it is still, you are being interfered with. That needs to be called. I don't want to hear people say, yeah, but I mean, you can't make that call at the end of the game. You can't do that. You can't decide a Super Bowl like that. Like, this is such a good game. We wanted to see the Eagles get a chance to respond. If that's the case, don't interfere with the dude. Like, stop him legitimately. So when I see, like, at the end of the first half, it doesn't get called, and then it gets called here, I know that, because that's the thing. I see people being like, well, they called it differently. Like, this was not called all game, and at the end of the game, they tightened up and they threw the flag. Like, that's bullshit. I kind of get that argument of, if you're going to call it a certain way, call it that way consistently. But I also see it as, the Eagles got away with one in the first half. Bless you, Bahamut. Like, you had a couple controversial catches go your way, 2 out of 3. And then you also got away with one. You can't be mad that you didn't get away with all of them. If the Chiefs, if that was not called, and then you get a clear replay of he was interfered with, he was held, Chiefs should have been able to get a first down and run out the clock. But that's not called, so they kick a field goal, and then the Eagles score a game-winning touchdown. People would be complaining. People would be complaining because the officials fucked up. Because the wrong team won the Super Bowl because of that shit. But that's not what happened. A clear penalty was called. And people are mad because the officials, instead of missing a blatant call or calling a phantom call, made the correct call. They're basically going to be damned if they do, damned if they don't. So I'm glad they at least did what they were supposed to. And like I've said, I was rooting for Kansas City. I have that bias, so I'm glad they won. I'm glad the call was made. If it was the other way around, I would have been upset that the Chiefs lost, that they committed the hold, but I would have said, yeah, that's a hold. That's a good call. That's the right call. I hate to see it because I wanted this other team to win. I wanted the other team to get a chance to respond. But it is the right call. The official did his job. Apparently most people don't agree with that, but I don't care. I really don't. The right call, like a penalty happened, the right call was made. The player, James Bradbury, even said, he's like, yeah, I held him. 100%. Like, I held him. I was hoping they would let it slide. They didn't. I'm glad he took accountability for it, 100%. So again, you can't argue it was a bullshit call. It was a phantom call. It happened. The dude even admitted that it happened. But I do not see, as I said earlier, I don't think that's why the Eagles lost. I don't think the Hurts fumble is why the Eagles lost. Now, technically, for scoreboard reasons, it is. But again, they kind of got away with another one, so it almost balances out. I can't blame Jalen Hurts. The dude had like 300 yards in the air, like 70 yards on the ground. What was it? Like a touchdown through the air, a touchdown on the ground, like 2 QB sneaks, but there's still touchdowns on the ground. Like 4 total touchdowns, a 2-point conversion to tie the game. Dude balled out. Mahomes was MVP because he was the quarterback on the winning team. Eagles win that game. It's Jalen Hurts, and no one bats a fucking eye. I feel like it's not an unfair statement to say he was probably the best player on the field, but he made 2 crucial mistakes. One was the fumble, and the other was the Hail Mary. Because they had a chance at the end of the game. Hurts has a beautiful deep ball, like he was hitting them all fucking day. And that one was just short. I know I've seen some people say he slipped on the turf. I've looked at it. I don't see him slipping. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was just, after throwing it deep so many times in the game, his arm just kind of gave out. I don't know if there was a specific plan, like someone was supposed to be a little short and they were going to try to have a convoy blocking. I don't know. But at the end of the day, he was not able to make that final pass. It was well short, and the Chiefs won. But his offense that he led scored 35 fucking points. He himself scored 3 touchdowns on the ground and 1 through the air. I don't blame him for the loss. I blame a Chiefs defense, not Chiefs defense, who stepped up in the second half. I blame an Eagles defense that for all of their, badassery, all of their dominance, could not get a sack and could not get a turnover, and most importantly, could not get a stop in the second half. You stop the Chiefs on one of those drives, Eagles probably win the game. Now, granted, because the Chiefs would have had to go for the touchdown instead of the field goal at the end, so maybe numbers would have been different, and if they really needed to, they could have kicked an onside kick, which is probably not successful, but you never know. So, there's other variables that happen, but you get a second half stop, you probably win the game. Hurts his MVP. He made his mistakes, but I can't blame him for that. This, to me, is why the Eagles lost. I guess I just check my notes, see if I had anything else to say, but that's really it. I will say, looking forward to looking at the Eagles in their season, I know a lot of people were saying that, oh man, the Eagles are frauds. They've had an easy schedule. They've had, you can't even say they've had an easy division because 3 teams from the division made the playoffs, and the 4th wasn't far behind. We're they had such an easy path, and then even in the playoffs, they beat the Giants, who weren't that great, but deserved to be there, I suppose. So it's they did that, and then, they played the 49ers, and the 49ers had, no QB, which, it did happen. It's they did have a pretty easy run to the playoffs themselves, but it's because they were the 1 seed. You get to play the weakest team. You get to play the weakest remaining team, and the Eagles feasted on them. And then the 49ers situation, that sucks, that's unfortunate, but you can only play who's on your schedule. And then in the biggest game, I feel if the Eagles were frauds, they would have crumbled. If they were frauds, they would have looked terrible, they would have looked outmatched. They led the majority of the game. They tied it with only a few minutes left, and they only lost by 3. That is a fantastic game. That is a fantastic team. They are not frauds. This felt like a game between the 2 best teams in the league. Now, looking forward, they lost their offensive coordinator, who, from what I understand, was the play caller. He is now head coach of the Colts. Their defensive coordinator might stay. Apparently, there's talk that he might actually become the head coach of the Cardinals. So if they lose both their guys, who knows how they'll actually look. I know they have a lot of key free agents. We'll kind of see how that goes. Hurts is going to have to get paid, especially after a performance like that. So I feel like I'm not going to say necessarily that, like, yeah, this was their chance and they blew it, because I could see this team being here again. But I can't say that for sure, because like when I look at someone like the Bengals were in the Super Bowl last year, didn't win, but they still have most, like, their, in terms of both their coaching staff and their team, the nucleus is still intact. And what happened this year? They came up just short, but they are in the championship game. Like, okay, this is a team that is going to be a consistent contender for a while. I don't know if they will actually win a championship, because I just genuinely don't know, but I would not be surprised if it happened. With the Eagles, I don't know if, man, this was their one chance and now the nucleus is getting blown up. The coaching staff for sure is. I don't know, but I feel like the future is bright right now in Philly. Looking at the Chiefs, I don't know what the official definition is of a sports dynasty. Because I actually looked into this earlier in the week. I was like, so if the Chiefs win, this is their second Super Bowl in 5 years. I mean, technically it's their second in 4 years, but Mahomes has been a starter for all 5 years, so it's like in his era, in 5 years, second win. If the Eagles win, this would be their second in 6 years. So, is that, like, for either of them, is that considered dynasty? Is it not? And I was looking into it, and all I could really see was a dynasty is, like, sustained success over, like, an era, basically. And it's like, that doesn't really tell me anything. But generally speaking, it sounds like multiple championships or so. So I think for me personally, a sports dynasty is when you look at a relatively small sample size, so about 5 years or so. To me, if a team is consistently competitive with multiple championships within a, like, short window, that to me is a dynasty. Excuse me, because, like, for example, the New England Patriots, they're considered to be, like, from 2000 or like 2001, 2002, whenever Brady's first Super Bowl was. I think it was 01 to like 20. What was his last one with the Patriots? Like, yeah, when did he leave? It was like 2019, 2020, somewhere around there. Is considered one dynasty. I don't consider that one dynasty. I consider it two. I think the early 2000s, where it was 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, that is a dynasty. The late 2010s, where it was like consecutive AFC championship appearances, and then again, like 3 championships in 5 years with, like, I think it was 3 championships and 4 appearances in 5 years. Like, that is a dynasty. Then there was this really big chunk of time in the middle for like a decade where they did not even make a Super Bowl, or at least did not win one. To me, it's like, here's the dynasty, time off, dynasty. So for that, like, to me, it, like I keep saying, small window, sustained success, ending with multiple championships. So I would say right now, I consider this Kansas City Chiefs team, like this Mahomes, Andy Reid duo, like with Brady and Belichick, they are right now a dynasty. In 5 years, they've hosted 5 championship appearances. 3 of those resulted in Super Bowl appearances, and 2 of those resulted in wins. 3 appearances in 5 years and 2 wins in 3 appearances. To me, that's a dynasty. Now, I do not know how long the dynasty will continue. I don't know if it's like, yeah, this is it, and then they're just not going to make a Super Bowl the rest of, their duo's career. It could happen. They could also just keep going to Super Bowls every year. Both are really possible, especially with how loaded the AFC is. The Bengals are a really good team right now. The Bills are a really good team. They're not getting over the hump, but I think they can. The Ravens, I don't really know what the fuck is going on with the Ravens, especially because we don't know about like if Lamar is going to still be there or not, but Chargers are an up-and-coming team. Jacksonville might be an up-and-coming team. I feel like there's someone I'm forgetting. Like, I'm not quite sure about Pittsburgh right now. I'm also not quite sure about Miami. I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, I don't really have anything to say about the Raiders. And hope if Sean Payton can make Russell Wilson turn back into Danger Russ versus Mr. Unlimited, then I mean, maybe throw the Broncos in there too. But oh, dude, I feel like the AFC is tough enough that I don't know if I can say that, yeah, the Chiefs are going to extend the dynasty and keep winning Super Bowls. But this team is so good. Like, this nucleus seems to be so good. And it's like, what this year? It was like they had to reload. They lost Tyreek. They had a bunch of new receivers come in. They have a defense that's pretty much led by rookies, plus Chris Jones and Frank Clark, and they still did what they needed to do. Oh, so I guess, like, one more note about the Super Bowl that was really interesting. MVS did not have a catch. He was basically the hero of the AFC Championship game, like had a clutch touchdown, had like clutch first down, like was a really clutch player, and then he pretty much disappeared in the Super Bowl. That's crazy to me. Like, that's how good this Chiefs team is. That's how deep they are. I think it's even like I heard Mahomes say after the game, I don't know if it was when he was talking to Chris Berman or not, or like an on-field interview. He's like, this is basically how the offense works. There's Travis Kelce, and then there's everyone else. Kelce is always going to be open. He's always going to get his. And then it's just, whose day is it? Like in the AFC Championship game, it was MVS. In the Super Bowl, it was Juju. Plus Tony making a huge play on special teams and catching a touchdown. Sky Moore catching a touchdown. Pacheco. I was watching Pat McAfee earlier. I think they kept calling him Pachinko, which is kind of funny. And I kind of thought about it. I was like, that's not a bad nickname for him because the dude is fucking money. This guy is a boss. But, yeah, that's really all I have to say. In summation, my pick was wrong. The Eagles did lose. But I think they are a very good team. And if they can keep that nucleus, I think they will be a contender for a long time. Jalen Hurts made some big boo-boos, but was arguably overall the best player on the field. That defense needed to step up in the second half, and they just weren't able to. Yes, the Super Bowl ultimately being finished on a penalty is an anticlimactic way to finish the game. But it was the correct call because it is a clear penalty. And as a Saints fan who's been hosed by a clear penalty not being called in a big playoff game, I'm glad it happened. For my dad's sake, I'm very excited for this Chiefs dynasty. I'm excited to kind of see where it goes, but to also see their competition. Like, I'd like to see Burrow win one. I'd love to see Allen win one. I really like Jalen Hurts. I would love for this dude to be able to win one. But as far as Mahomes is concerned, 2 down, 5 to go. I can't wait for next season. I hope we win it all. That's it.